Hello guys, welcome to a new video on Tower of God New World, and in this video I'm going to do a tier list update. We're going to rank GUSTANG, DOWON and Spearbearer ANAAK, and I'm also going to cover some rank changes for certain units. Before starting, I just wanted to quickly mention that I uploaded the status effects tab, and this time the way it's structured is not anymore that there is an effect every column. I just decided to create 5 categories and then write all the effects. This is a lot easier to maintain and also less confusing, because I tried it with all the effects in different columns. It was like 50 columns and we had a lot of blank spaces in the middle. It was really messy to update and also to navigate. I decided to make it like this because you should have the possibility to filter it. If you go over the data menu and you go in create custom filter or filter view, whatever it's called in English, I don't know, because as you can see here the menu is in Italian, whatever, and then you will have the possibility to search for values. You can see condition the text contains, and then you write the value however you want and it will be filtered. Or you can just hit Ctrl F and then just write, I don't know, stun, and then you see well, you're not seeing in the screen because it's in the top right corner, is kind of outside the screen, but there is the total number of units that have it, it appears 49 times in this case. Then I can just go next and it will just move me through all the units that have it. So I think it's still quite easy to look for the information you need, and it's also a lot easier for me to update. So let me know in the comments what you think about this, and I'd say now we can just go back to the tier list. Now I will first mention the units for which I did a sort of rank change, and then we're going to go over the 3 new units. So the first thing is that I moved down Eden from irregular to S+ arrow up for the below 300 deficit. We're going to do below 300 deficit first, and then we're going to do above 300 after we're done with it. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. And yeah, so Eden went down. The main reason is that this guy was potentially never meant to be that high up. He's insane. It will never fall off meta, but the thing is, it requires units to boost his durability. It requires units to provide him with a shit ton of energy. And he also is kind of too single target. So in a lot of scenarios where you cannot really target the unit you want, gets a bit tricky. So yeah, I didn't really want to leave him in irregular anymore. And then the other reason is also that we have GUSTANG now that has the same percentage but on AoE, which is insane. So I decided to move him down. This doesn't mean this guy is weaker than he was before. No, he's still the same. It's just I reevaluated his sort of conditions of use and how effective it could be at times, how easy to use it could be, and I figured he really has some major downsides at times. I mean, probably major is the wrong word, but you get what I mean. Is definitely held back at times by his single target nature, whatever, sort of like Kaiser, but for sure this guy will last way longer in the meta, let's say, compared to Kaiser, just because his damage really doesn't give a shit about deficit. So yeah, that's the main thing. And yeah, then the next thing I changed in the yellow element is Irang. I just gave her a link, and the link is for Albelda in this case. I wrote it in the investment tab, so feel free to look there, but Albelda Revolution 5 is the requirement for Irang to be in the S+ category. And yeah, nothing else to mention. If you have any doubts about that, let me know. But Albelda Irang is probably one of the best pairs that we have for Albelda. There are some others, obviously, but Irang is really, really super effective, really, really good. So not much to say there. Then if we look at purple, I just added an arrow down to white. So from irregular to irregular arrow down. The main reason is that I also believe that DPS units outside of family heads shouldn't belong in irregular. That's way too high, because as we saw with DOWON, she has damage that easily rivals white. But the reason why white is still in irregular, and as you can already see, I didn't place DOWON there yet, is because white has some of the cheapest teams ever. Like, it doesn't have a heavy reliance on SSR Plus supports or specific units. It kind of works in purple teams, and it kind of works with just SSR units as teammates, which is really, really valuable at times, really good. So this guy is still amazing. I don't think like put him in here at the same level as a Mashini makes sense. And I also didn't feel like lowering down the rank of Mashini did her justice, because she's really an amazing unit. She's just not on the same level as white. That's all there is to it, I'd say. So yeah, that's kind of the idea here for the below 300 deficit and for the purple element. No, actually, I think I changed someone else. Yeah, I also moved down Karaka from S plus to S, because it was really probably too much to have this guy up here and Ana, Reflejo, and Varagarv down here. I mean, they have slightly different kits, and Karaka works also outside of specific combination. Like, I wouldn't use Varagarv outside of purple because he has a passive that boosts his defense in purple. And I wouldn't use Reflejo without some grouping. And Ana on her own is kinda okay, but still you feel like there is something missing. So there are units that you have to pair together, like Ana and Kunagero are really great. Ana Reflejo are great. Those kind of combinations. But Karaka is one of those units that is okay by himself. It fulfills multiple roles, just not as well. Like, I think Karaka is not as good as a Ana Varagarv, Ana Reflejo, but on his own is probably more valuable than just Ana, if it makes sense. I don't know if I explained myself correctly, but yeah. Still, S plus was too much, so I lowered it to S. That's more or less it. And that's all for purple. In red, there are not many changes. I just removed the link for Alice. Before, the link was just 003, but I mean, 003 basically is only played with Alice and a few others if you really want to. So it wasn't really a harsh restriction that that made sense for like to justify a link on her. And she's also fine even without 003. She might not carry at that point in terms of damage, but she still has max HP damage, which is never low. And she also has the utility against healers, which is pretty good. So yeah, I think that deserves S rank without the link. Then next up, I just made a quick change to blue. I gave an arrow down to Novik, and we'll see then in the above 300 deficit I deranked him even more, but that's about it, I'd say. Now for the new units, we have GUSTANG, DOWON, and Spearbearer ANAAK. GUSTANG is obviously a regular arrow up. This guy has insane damage, insane utility. He can counter some super annoying units like Anniversary Iwa, so it's just amazing. There are people always asking, is GUSTANG better than Tromray? And I don't think that question makes a lot of sense, because they fulfill different roles. GUSTANG's DPS is on a different level compared to Tromray. I know there are people out there that might say, but I'm using them together and I see that Tromray has a closer damage to GUSTANG. Sure, if you're facing enemies with attack percent increase and barriers, you will just see Tromray spamming max HP damage and destroying everyone. So sure, but like on a normal team, when those conditions are not met, there is no way Tromray can match GUSTANG's damage. No way. So there are different use cases. They have different weaknesses. I'd say Tromray is more consistent in performance. There are less units that he finds troublesome to deal with. And GUSTANG's survivability is kind of meh. But all things considered, they're both insane units. There is nothing else to say. Let me know in the comments if you agree or not, but I think it's pretty clear that this guy was going to end up there. So yeah, that's all for GUSTANG. I would say we can stay in red and talk about Spearbearer ANAAK. I gave her S arrow up. She has basically the same kit as Ice Spear Kunagero. The reason why she's lower is because I find her a lot squishier, harder to keep alive. But in general, like, they actually provide the exact same things. I would say that Spearbearer ANAAK also has an additional advantage, and that is at Rainbow 5 she can run Rihanna and add also a silence super early on in the game, because she starts the fight with 1000 energy and she will just target the furthest away enemy and silence all the enemies on a line. Perfect, really good. And yeah, the rest of the kit we kind of already know. Defense shred, swiftness decrease, energy decrease, HP recovery block, lots of good stuff. So yeah, definitely amazing value, amazing unit. I just didn't feel like placing her in S plus yet. I might move her up, we'll see. But for now, I felt like S arrow up was good enough. Again, let me know in the comments what you feel about that. And next up, we have DOWON. DOWON, I just placed her S plus arrow up. Same ranking as BAM. Now, she obviously has way more damage than BAM, but her survivability is kind of a problem. I know she has 20-second conceal, which makes her by default better than other units at surviving, but there are a lot of enemies that just have AoE damage that do not care about targeting. They could be like Asensio, but that guy is super annoying in general. Tenkats could be even just a misplaced Urek special move, whatever. Garam special move is super annoying. There are lots of units that just do AoE damage and she will probably get hit. So not much you can do about it, and she will die if you go full damage. Even if you go tank and go with resistances, she'd still die if your deficit is too high. So survivability is kind of a problem, but her damage definitely justifies that. The thing is, she's kind of restricted to blue because of how some of her effects work. They really have good synergy with blue units, and that's probably why I didn't feel like placing her in irregular. She definitely has irregular tier damage, but she has a lot more downsides than the units in the regular tier, if that makes sense. Now, there are also people asking whether BAM or DOWON are the better blue unit. And I will say, as a unit in general, BAM has way more in his kit than DOWON and is useful in a lot more scenarios. Also, his survivability is fucking insane. You can go full damage and that guy will still survive. But DOWON has higher damage. She's the better DPS. So better DPS for sure DOWON. Better blue unit, I'd say BAM of the two. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. And again, also for DOWON, let me know in the comments what you think about that. I'd say we can just go over the above 300 deficit. And for this one, I will again first talk about the changes that I made to the units. Eden has been moved as well to S plus or up, so same reasons as before. We have an increase in position from S rank to S plus for Irang, and again with a link, because with Albelda she's definitely S plus level, really good. She's not necessarily S plus arrow up, I'd say, because single target is an issue. Enemies with a lot of defense, like a Tankats or whatever, they are really annoying to deal with, but still amazing unit. Next, we also have Kronos Ayuri. She moved up from A plus to S, because it's true her utility is very limited outside of the first 25 seconds of the fight, but the early silence with Rihanna is extremely beneficial, and most of the times having that irremovable HP recovery block super early is important and really impactful. So not much to say there. Really good value, and A plus wasn't really a great place for her. I think S fits her a lot better. And yeah, those were all the changes to the yellow category. For purple, again, arrow down on white, same reasons as before, nothing more to say. Nare, I gave her an arrow down because the higher the deficit, the more difficult it is to keep her alive and to get some value out of her kit. She still has an amazing kit, so I still think she deserves this rank. But I will say I use like Kunagero, Ana, Reflejo, Varagarv way more than I use Nare in general in a purple team. But outside of a purple team, there is usually space for an array, so it's still fine, and I will definitely leave her in S+. The other unit is just Karaka. He was already in S in this deficit, but I gave him an arrow down to kind of make it evident that he's kind of losing out compared to the other options that we have in purple, and those are all SSR units, which is really insane, really, really good. So yeah, I'd say that's all for purple, if I remember correctly, yes. Then for red, the only change is, again, I removed the link for Alice. I don't think there is a need to explain it further. And for blue, I moved Novik down from A+ to A, just because his survivability is just too shit to get anything out of him. It's unfortunate because his kit is really good and works really well with Kaiser, but the thing is also Kaiser is starting to fall off due to her single target nature. So yeah, I think those two will fall kind of together at a certain point. There is really no DPS at the current moment that gets any real benefit out of Novik's kit outside of Kaiser. Again, Kaiser is starting to fall off. So that's kind of the issue as well there. And another unit I moved is Urek. I moved him up from A to A+, just because I underestimated the importance of defense on the revolution buff that he got in the past. I would say he's a lot more durable than before, so to me it definitely deserves an increase in rank. He doesn't have insane things in his kit. He has like swiftness decrease and buff removal, which is pretty important. But yeah, still a lot more valuable than a Novik, for example. So I definitely moved him up. And those were all the changes in the plus 300 deficit. As for the rankings, they are the same for like GUSTANG, DOWON, and Spearbearer ANAAK. I think for GUSTANG there is nothing to say. This guy doesn't give a shit about deficit. He will just destroy everyone. DOWON, same thing. It was like she was already struggling with survivability even below 300 deficit, and that doesn't change at all. And her damage is still insane, so she's still in the same rank. And Spearbearer ANAAK, more or less same thing. Her kit is still as valuable as before. She still has like survivability issues, but you kind of have to work around that. And I'd say, guys, that's pretty much all for the tier list update. Let me know in the comments how you feel about all these changes, if you agree, if you don't, and why. And yeah, I'd say that's all for this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.